Donald Trump told King Charles that he must take some action to curb immigration because otherwise he would lose his kingdom. This is the rumour out of the royal household. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to explain a little bit about it and also discuss a little bit more about the state visit and, of course, this British state visit, which we are expecting to take place on the 250th anniversary of the United States of America kicking the British out. Yeah, makes sense to British and Americans. Many of you will not think it makes sense. Hello, everyone. This is Andre Walker. I was incredibly proud the other day to see Marine One go over my house not once but twice on the way from Stansted Airport. Actually, I don't think it was. I think it was from the American ambassador's residence on the first day of the state visit. It flew over, and then when he was flying to Chequers, it flew as well. I don't know if you know, but Marine One did have a problem and had to make an emergency landing in the United Kingdom. However, the problem was effectively minor. What the pilot said was there was a minor hydraulic issue, and because they had a backup helicopter rather, and they were so concerned to be overcautious, that's why they changed helicopters. So it wasn't a major issue. But obviously, Trump and the King spent time together. Now, it has to be said, I want to thank the Presidents of the United States of America and indeed the American nation for the way that they venerated Queen Elizabeth II. I don't know if you know that Donald and Melania laid a wreath there. We all know that Donald Trump and Queen Elizabeth II got on so well. And I'll tell you why. First of all, from Donald's point of view, or the President's point of view rather, he said his only regret was his mother never lived long enough for him to see himself meet the Queen, because they were approximately the same age and his mother always identified with her. From Queen Elizabeth II's point of view, she was very happy to have a pro-British American president who knew so much about the Highlands of Scotland, a place where the Queen obviously spent a lot of time. I don't know if you know, but the Queen Mother, her father was an Earl in the Highlands of Scotland, and so obviously there was that connection between Donald Trump and Queen Elizabeth. But I digress slightly. In the private meeting between Charles and Donald Trump, Trump is has apparently warned Charles that his kingdom would not last for much longer if there was so much uncontrolled immigration. He said that you had to do something about the source of that immigration, and apparently he explained the details of what was going on in Venezuela and the way that the Trump administration were ensuring that people from South America were not able to enter, and he believed that that was something that should also happen in Britain, because what was the central message from Donald Trump's state visit? Well, actually, in a sense, it was about the economics and the support that we have for each other. But there's always been this underlying thing. We call it the special relationship. The United States of America now calls it the more than special relationship. But actually, what is it in practice? It is this commitment that the Anglosphere has to each other to say, well, okay, we aren't the same country. We don't want to tell each other what to do. But what we do want to do is work together as what I call a global brotherhood for freedom. And that global brotherhood for freedom relies on, bluntly, the Anglosphere being ruled by Anglo-Saxon people. God, maybe I didn't say that quite right, and maybe people are going to be angry with me for that. But what I mean to say is, it's not just that Britain is Britain. It's that we are allied with the United States of America, that we're allied with Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and indeed those Commonwealth countries. And the reason why that's important is because it gives us the ability to all act together. Things like the Five Eyes, things like the Mediterranean naval fleet, which British and Americans operate virtually together. The fact that you can take, I know it sounds obvious because there's only a small number of weapons manufacturers in the world, but the fact that you can go and train with British soldiers, go and train with American soldiers, and they're learning the same tactics, they're learning how to work together, all of that is incredibly important. And I think Charles has been really very weak on this subject. I think what he's done is he's backed down from the big issues of the day. Now, when his mother was the Queen, he was always interested in the issues of the day. And do you remember the spider letters, so-called, because he signed his name in quite spidery writing? Well, I thought it was important that Charles took an interest in governance. I don't think Queen Elizabeth was right when she said she would never sack a Prime Minister or veto a law. I think she should have vetoed the Lisbon Treaty, which was, of course, the European Constitution, just with a different name, because, of course, Labour had said they wouldn't bring it in without a referendum, and then the name change allowed them to do it. But he is now getting more political, and we have to say something. And I've said this again, I've said this time and time again. Donald Trump, when he deports all of these people from the United States of America, he's making America strong again. He's making America wealthy again. When we start deporting people from the United Kingdom, it'll make Britain strong again. Now, I don't want to be cruel or nasty or evil with anybody, but you can't be in a situation where every single person in the world is entitled to move to your country. Is the solution to the problems of Gaza that every Gazan should move to Britain? Well, if that is the solution to Gaza's problem, is the solution to Venezuela that every Venezuelan should move to the United States of America? Or perhaps we should say the issue in South Africa is resolved if every single South African moves to Australia. I don't know. But it's never going to work, is it? Actually, these countries, with their strong history, with their strong politics, and with their strong belief in each other, have to work together. Now, will we ever know precisely what Donald Trump said to King Charles? But I think what he will have said, he will have been good to him, because they do have a shared interest in architecture. They are concerned about urban redevelopment. And actually, if King Charles was not king, I think by trade he'd be an architect. And fairly obviously, Donald Trump is by trade a property developer. But I believe that this rumour out of the palace, out of the castle, is true. I think Donald Trump did warn King Charles that things needed to change. I don't think he'll have brought up the issue of climate change, because that is just too far apart. But actually, the reality is, it is the job of the British monarch to stand up for the British people. And I know how angry so many of you are with King Charles about the way that he has failed to stand up for Britain. But now is his moment, and now is his time. And I'm hoping that Donald Trump has persuaded him that uncontrolled immigration is a mistake. And I'll say one final thing about uncontrolled immigration. I've said it loads of times. You know, we do need a strong United Kingdom to help all of these countries around the world. We're not going to be able to defend them unless we are strong in ourselves. And that is an important thing. But that state visit was great. I want to make one final complaint about the state visit. You know, these protesters are winning. We can all say all day that I dragged out a protester. By the way, they are trying to criminally prosecute me for that. They say I was guilty of assaulting the bloke. Please do donate to the Patriot Fund for my legal defence. Don't worry, we'll win. But let me tell you the sad thing about that state visit. It was the fact that it was so sterile, that it was held in private. I am telling you, people who like Trump or dislike Trump in this country would have loved to have seen that out on the streets, would have loved to have gone to the carriage parade. It's not a political event in that sense. It's not about venerating the particular politician. It's a state occasion that's supposed to be non-political. Now, accept that the head of government and the head of state are the same thing in America, whereas obviously in Britain, we have a head of state, the king, and head of government, the prime minister. But nonetheless, it was not an opportunity to make a political point. And because the protesters made that political point, we weren't able to have that state visit in public. And I think that was a really, really great shame. Please do donate to the Patriot Fund below. Oh, by the way, I've been in the film about boxing today, hence the tuxedo. Until next time, goodbye.